Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Mastering Luxury Travel, Elevate Your Position and Boost Sales. I'm Lydia Gregory. I'm the managing editor for Recommend Magazine, and I'll be moderating the webinar today. We have some great sponsors that are making this possible. Recommend, of course, us, and we also have Explorer Journeys, Rental Escapes, and the St. Lucia Tourism Board. The webinar is a complement to the Luxury Travel Trends Survey that was conducted on recommend.com. I'm sure you participated in that, as well as the 2024 Luxury Travel Trends Report, which will be available via email sometime during the next week, as well as a recording of the webinar. So during this conversation with our panelists, we'll talk about travel, luxury travel, and offer tips on how you can sell to this amazing market. So before we begin, a couple of housekeeping items. During the presentation, please feel free to enter your questions in the chat box. We'll gather them up at the end, and then we'll have a Q&A session a few minutes before we're done with the presentation, a few minutes after we're done with this chat. And then, if you miss anything, like I said, the webinar is being recorded and you'll be receiving a recording of this so you can check it out at your leisure. So first things first, let's have our panelists introduce ourselves. We'll start with Abby.
Hi, everybody. My name is Abby Shimke. I'm a third-generation travel advisor and agency owner from Traverse City, Michigan. Our agency is Grand Traverse Travel.
And we have Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica White. I'm located in Richmond, Virginia. I own Jessica White Travel, and we're affiliated with Brownell Travel.
And Susie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Susie McAtarian, and I'm from Burbank, California, and I'm owner of MS Travel and Tour, specializing in destination weddings and luxury travel.
Fabulous. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So first question is, how do you define luxury in the travel industry today? And how has that definition evolved in the most recent years? Jessica, you want to jump in on that one first?
I'm happy to. So I would say luxury means something different to everybody. And that's one of the most important parts of our job, is really getting to know what luxury means for each specific client. You know, for many, it's just breezing through immigrations and customs with VIP service. That's true luxury. Or for some, it's a Michelin star dinner or luxury toiletries in their room. So I think a big part of our job is figuring out what is most meaningful and what luxury really means for each specific client. And I would say how it's evolved is, I think people are more interested in things just being seamless and easy and wonderful service, whatever that means to them, versus not always about the linen count. It can be more about having authentic, unique experiences, as well as like all the typical luxuries you might think about.
Great. Susie?
I piggyback off what she said. She nailed it. I think unique experiences, customization, 100%. Time is the new money. And the people want to appreciate their time. They want the VIP service. They want things to be seamless. They want things to, be done for them. They just want to show up and know that everything is taken care of.
Right. Abby, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, certainly. So, like Jessica said, people might have cared more about their thread count in the sheets 20 years ago, but now we're seeing a lot of trends on. They want something different. They want the local flair. They want to have experiences with people that live in that area, and that might mean traveling during the shoulder season. And they're listening a bit more to the travel advisor and our experience. And it's exciting to see travel going in that direction of more unique travel.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So while we have you on, the next question is, what are the top trends you're noticing in the luxury travel space for 2025 and beyond? Do you want to pop on that one?
Yeah, certainly. So unique destinations, certainly. They like the local flair. They want smaller, they want private. Whereas in the mass market of travel, group sizes are 50 for a larger group, but we have travelers that are coming to us saying, we don't want more than 10 people, or we want private. We want just us and just a tour guide, and we want them to be a local. So it's all about, partnering with vendors that have those local guides that can connect with them, where we might not be on the trip with them, able to tell them, different information. You have a local there with them, which is really, really important to the traveler.
Right. Jessica, I see you nodding and agreeing with that.
Yes, I second what Abby said. And I
And
would I'd say at Brownell, we're seeing the same trends. Really wanting that personalized service and a lot of shoulder season or off season travel to avoid like the heat in Europe. I know like Europe summer travel, now the high season I feel like is May and September because no one wants to be there in July and August when temperatures are at their record highs. So
right.
I think a lot of those kinds of trends we're seeing too.
Susie, are you seeing anything in the luxury weddings area at all? Anything related?
Yes, more wellness and eco-friendly travel, I would say. A lot of people want to do, groups and do wellness, yoga retreats. I think that has been a big trend, along with like off the beaten path type of experiences for sure.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think you'll see all that in that luxury travel trends report we have. It really just does underline what you guys are saying. How important, well, this is kind of, we already touched on this a little bit, is customization in luxury travel, and what are some experiences of personalized travel that you've curated for your clients? Susie, you want to start since we were already talking to you?
Yeah, so the luxury traveler, I mean, they want everything to be customized. They like what Abby said too. I mean, they want you to put everything together. They want to make sure that everything is done for them. So what I usually do is, I'm always putting my recommendations, but I'm also not inserting a lot of my advice because sometimes people are not really too comfortable, right?
Mhm.
So you want to make sure that they, are comfortable with your suggestions, but um, definitely the car services, the VIP pickup, working with a supplier that is actually, putting like a note or a champagne in the room when your clients are arriving. That's a huge wow factor for a lot of the luxury travelers, and it's very important for them.
Jessica, do you have any examples of maybe a personalized experience that you've put together for somebody?
Sure, I would love to add. I oftentimes like to think of myself as like a fairy godmother, sprinkling fairy dust all over my clients' travel and trying to surprise and delight and wow them along the way. And I think a big part of it is really listener first to understand like what are those little nuggets, those little things that people really care about that are really important. Like for example, I just had a group of Jewish clients headed to Portugal, and in Lisbon they were quite disappointed because the days they were staying there was going to be the Jewish synagogues weren't going to be open because of a holiday. And so we talked to the tour guides and their transfer guide, and they were able to surprise them with like a visit to meet a rabbi along the way to their next destination and visit a special synagogue off the beaten path that was, something we just added complimentary into their itinerary. But it meant a lot to them because it showed we listened. We noticed they were disappointed, even though like in the initial itinerary planning, we couldn't get everything they
Yeah.
wanted to do. But I think things like that, along with, of course, all the welcome amenities and talking to the hotels to make sure everything's ready. But I think it's those little things that show that you're listening and show that you care about what's important to them.
That's a great example. Abby, do you have anything that you want to share about that you've customized for one of your special clients?
Sure. Yeah. I think listening in the first consultation when you meet with them in the office to those little tidbits, like Jessica said, is super important. And an example from this week, actually, I have a mother and two of her daughters traveling to Croatia, and it's very important to them that everything is private and seamless, taken care of. And on their transfer from Var to Dubrovnik, they said they just wanted a private, ferry transfer, but we are setting up a private stop on one of the islands to do a wine tasting because wine and culinary is really important to them. So instead of just taking them from point A to point B, we're making an experience out of it. So it's just those little details, listening to the first conversation that play a huge, huge part in retaining your clients too and building trust in that relationship.
So important, so important. So the next question is, how do travelers' expectations differ between first-time luxury travelers and seasoned luxury travelers? Who would like to take that one first? Susie?
Sure. So and of course, in my experience, I think everybody has a different experience, but the first time luxury traveler is a little bit more, they trust your expertise because they're doing this for the first time, but they're also questioning a lot of what you're
Mm,
doing your steps, right? So I think that's where you see where they're kind of like a little bit, every step that you're taking, they kind of want to make sure that they are getting the most bang for their buck, but they also, want to make sure that you are taking care of them, to the fullest. Versus the seasoned traveler is like, we know what we want, we know the prices, we've been traveling for so long, so we're not going to question the $200 $300 here and there. We know that this is roughly the ballpark of what prices are, so they don't really question it as much versus the first time luxury traveler.
right. Jessica, I see you nodding in agreement also.
Yes, I agree. And I think also sometimes the trickiest ones are the first time travelers. I do some honeymoons where I feel like this may be their first time out of the country, and I have to remember to put on my hat of what does it feel like to be a first time traveler and be like, these people may not understand what it's like to get a visa, to go through customs, to all these things that are so second nature to us. It's just important to remember that for some, it's not second nature, as I've been traveling my whole life. So it's really important to try to put on that hat and remember all those little things that might be helpful for them. And I agree with everything Susie said. Sometimes the seasoned travelers, they can be the easiest because they know what things are going to cost, they know what to
Right.
expect, but then again, you have to deliver time and time for them because they know that you're there to help them make it seamless. But then they also understand when things go wrong because they're used to travel things happening. So I love the seasoned traveler.
I saw the nodding, Abby. Yes.
Yes to everything. Yes to everything. I love working with both. I think I get really excited when I work with clients who have never worked with a travel advisor before, because you're working with someone who has either been planning their own travel online, or they've just never traveled before and they've retired and they're saying, we really just want to travel at least one really big trip every year, or a couple trips, or one per quarter, or whatnot. So you get to start from that baseline of zero and exceed their expectations really, really quickly. The seasoned travelers are great, like Jessica said, because they have those expectations already set, and they're a little bit better when they're traveling if there are hiccups with flight interruptions, things like that. They anticipate that, to not go perfectly with the airlines, and we all know that.
Right.
But you get to still wow them with you as an individual travel advisor and show them what your specialty is. Why is it going to be different with you than what they've been doing before? Because a lot of age advisors in the industry are retiring, and so we get to be this next generation of, hey, this is how we do things differently. We're blending, especially in the luxury market, this golden age of travel that some travelers are used to or have heard of. It's legend, the golden age of travel, and with the wonderful tools that we have nowadays too. So it's really an exciting time to be in the travel industry.
Oh, great. Thank you. So in your experience, which experiences or services, speaking of wow factors, create that biggest wow factor for luxury travelers? Jessica, you want to answer that one or start?
I think the time that we have the chance to really wow our clients is when things go wrong or when there's an issue, and we then have our biggest opportunity to try to wow them with how we problem solve it. I tell my team it's not about the issues that happen, it's how we react to them and how we solve the problems and show our clients how we can be there for them in these moments when they really need us. And so I always try to think of, that book, The Obstacle is the Way, where you're thinking of everything that might seem as a problem, the driver didn't show up, or their flights canceled, or whatever, is a chance for us to step in and really help our clients through that hard moment and prove our value. So, I like to think that the hard times are the times we can really show our worth and show how we can be professional problem solvers.
Fabulous. Susie, that was actually, we were looking for like, oh, we got them on a yacht or blah, 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 but that is actually a very, very good point, Jessica. Thank you. Susie, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, she Jessica said something that I didn't think about, because I was like, okay, the negative parts of our business where things can go wrong, and they do go wrong, where you do show, who you are as their agent and what you can do for them. But just to add again, like I said earlier, it is that VIP factor, and really listening to their requests. Sometimes, for example, for my clients, if they reach out to me early on and say, "Oh, it's our anniversary and we're going, to Paris or whatnot to celebrate," but they've forgotten that they told me that it's their anniversary. But I've made a note on my end, so I've made sure that the hotel knows that they, are on their anniversary, so that when they do arrive, they do get something nice in their room that celebrates them and their anniversary. That's a wow factor and personal service that they're not going to get when they're booking online or on their own.
Right. Abby, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, certainly. Everything that has been said is great so far. The one thing I'd like to add too for us, it's a little different, is when clients, we very first meet them. So our consultations, and people have busy schedules. So certainly some new clients we speak to over the phone. So, and that's a very important conversation. But our real goal is to get people in the office. We have a boutique office in Traverse City, and we get to set them down. It's really a non-traditional office. It's more like a living room setting. The desk is right next to, the couch, and we have a TV that has ambiance of the destination that we're talking about. So we like to start off the travel experience in the office the second that we first touch base with them and have that open communication, because we want them to know it's different from, I'm going to Google this destination and see why I should go there or what I should do, what restaurants. We want to really, really hone in on that human connection with them, and building that trust from the first time that we speak with them.
Well, that's a great wow factor for them to be seeing the destination behind them as you're talking about it. I mean, that's where it starts, right? Everything just starts with the first step, right? So since we're talking to you, how is sustainability influencing the luxury travel decisions? And Abby, do you feel that clients are asking for more eco-conscious type of trips? Is that a factor?
I would say they're not directly asking for it, but when you have the conversations with your clients, you can tell if they say, "Oh, we really like food, we really like cooking, we really like." You get to find out how involved in the community they are. What are your hobbies? If they say, "Oh yeah, we're in the local Rotary Club," or "Oh yeah, we volunteer at the local co-op," you can kind of get that feel from them and see if that's something they want sprinkled into their trip to some extent. We're not really getting a lot of people coming into the office saying we want a sustainable, eco-friendly oriented trip, but they like when it's incorporated into an itinerary.
Right. Susie, are you seeing any people asking for like green, specifically that they like green hotels or anything like that? They want to like lessen their carbon footprint, for example.
Um, I would agree with Abby. It's not directly, if it's something where it's mentioned in their description of the property, they're like, "Oh, okay, that's great," but I don't see that they're specifically coming to me, at least, and asking for that.
Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and hop into cruise vacations then. So how do cruise vacations fit into a luxury vacation? For example, what kind of cruise experiences are your luxury clients opting for without necessarily mentioning specific cruise lines, but are they looking for small ship within a ship accommodation, river cruising, or what sort of luxury options are they going for, Jessica?
Do quite a bit of cruising, so I do it all, but I do think that for people who are, more seasoned travelers, the more you cruise, the more you probably want more of a smaller ship, more intimate service, the guest to staff ratio being closer to that 1-to-1 ratio. It becomes more and more meaningful as people cruise more. You kind of step up, you aren't stepping down when it comes to, like, you aren't going from Silver Sea to Carnival. It's always the other way around. I will say that I still have lots of people who do enjoy the amenities of the big ships, whether they have small children or whether they like the entertainment and amenities. So I think that ship within a ship, or where you have the retreat on celebrity and things like that, where you still feel like you have that more personalized service within the big, multi-thousand person boats. I think that those are really great things that we can offer to give a little bit of that luxury travel while still giving them the, amenities of those big cruise lines.
Abby, have you seen that as well with your clients, with your luxury clients, that trend?
They're primarily, when they come into the office, they don't typically start out asking for a cruise. I do it destination based, and I might, if when I go to recommend a cruise, if it's kind of matching up with what they're asking for, they will start off the conversation by saying, we're not cruisers. If I say, oh, I think you would really enjoy a boutique river cruise by what you're saying, you want to do, have a lot of options for activities on board, your inclusions, smaller groups. I'll say, it's not your typical large ocean cruise. And so you have to really educate them by what that experience is going to offer. And it usually aligns with what they're asking for. And they'll even, some people that have cruised before, they'll specifically say, I don't want any more than 400 people on board with me. I want one-on-one experience. I want to have options for private experiences off the ship or just freedom to explore. And something that our agency has been specializing in is wine river cruises too. So the area where we live has many, it's like the Napa Valley of Michigan. So we partner with a lot of the vineyards and a lot of the wine groups that they host will sail with us, and that is a huge market right now. Just to have something that a little piece of the vineyards from home in Europe is a really great combination and a great marketing tool as well to get people who have maybe never worked with a travel advisor. They'll come to you, they do the trip, and they'll say, oh my gosh, this has been great working with a travel advisor. I want to do this, that, and the other thing now. And then you have a client for life. It's a really cool opportunity.
Susie, have you seen that as well with something similar with your luxury clients? Maybe not
Yes.
thinking of a cruise, but then they're like, oh, we have this.
Most of the time my clients know that they want a cruise, but I do see in the last 2 years a huge shift where they don't want the big cruises. They don't want 4,000 people with a buffet line and, chaos and, stopping in ports and being rushed. They don't want that. Last 2 years, my business has seen a lot more river cruising requests come in, and more yacht experiences. I think, especially with the luxury clients, like we mentioned, they want that private experience. They want something that they're going to enjoy, the scenic experience, and take it all in.
So, next question, do you think, and I think we touched on wellness a little earlier, do you think luxury travel will shift more towards wellness and remote escapes, or are urban experiences still in high demand? What do you think, Jessica?
I think it's still in demand. I don't know, maybe because I'm on the East Coast, and so we have a lot of people who do New York or, other getaways in cities, but I plan a lot of Paris trips and London trips
Big
and all
city,
sorts of
yeah.
cities mixed in, with rural destinations is a good mix. So I think with the culinary scene, museums, and history and all that cities have to offer, I'm still seeing a lot of city itineraries too. But there is a separate sort of trip, and that's why it's really getting into the why are people traveling when you're on that initial call. Is like, why are you traveling? Are you here to experience the history and the art and the culture that way, or are you interested in really relaxing and resetting? In which case, I wouldn't necessarily recommend a city. So I think that's the why of why they're going is really important. But I am seeing clients still doing all of the above.
Abby, what would you add to that? I mean, you're in a very rural setting on your backdrop there, so.
Yes, I agree. I think that it will always remain a mix, but it just depends on your traveler. So if you're talking to a traveler who has say never been to France, they're going to really want to see Paris, from what I've seen. If they've been to France before, they're well-seasoned traveler, they'll immediately say, we don't need to do Paris. We've already seen it. Let's do something different. Let's find a more rural destination. In regards to wellness travel specifically, I think people are wanting to do wellness-oriented trips in more of a community, so more group setting, rather than just a one-off. Hey, we just want to go to this resort. They might want to do a cruise or a group at a wellness retreat as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Susie, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think I definitely do. I'm seeing a potential in the luxury space going that direction with wellness because people do have the means to preserve their health and wellness, and they're putting more, effort into it now, as the generations are changing, and they're also appreciating their vacation time, and they are spending it, trying to rejuvenate, trying to focus on their health while they're on their vacation. So I do see a potential in, future luxury travel going that direction for sure.
To that point, have you seen a shift for luxury travelers to slow down more rather than see like multiple destinations in one trip? Susie, do you want to like, since we were just talking about that,
So you know what, I see it within the age. It really just depends on the age. Being in the US, flying over to Europe, sometimes I get crazy requests with like, I have 15 days, I want to see Europe. Like, well, you can't see Europe in 15 days, right? So they just want to see everything because for them, they're like, this is a once in a lifetime trip. I don't know if I'm going to be there, next year. So I want to see everything. So I do see that there are still trends of people wanting to just see every single, area while they're there and cover everything, which is just not possible. And then I do also see a different margin of the age range group where they're like, I'm not backpacking. I want to enjoy it. I want to, I don't want to check in, check out, check in, check out. I really want to take my time. I want to touch every art. I want to experience every culinary experience. So it just really depends on the age range in my case.
Abby, what do you see in that part? Are you seeing more of the slow travel trend, or are they still go, 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 go?
I'm seeing a lot of the slower trends. So if someone's saying they have a week to 10 days, they might not want to go to more than one or two destinations during that time period. They want a little bit more of that immersive experience in each of the places that they're seeing. And if what they're telling me in the initial conversation is we have 7 days, we want to see 3 or 4, but they want something a bit more immersive, I'll say, let's maybe tone that back to 1 or 2 if you really want that locals experience and immersive opportunities.
Yeah, Jessica, are you seeing something of the same?
Yes, I have clients who request across the board, like Susie said, but I'm usually pushing back a little bit if they're the clients who are requesting a lot of 1 or 2 night stays. I pretty much shy away from them if I can, a 1 night stay, unless if it's really has to be done, because I've found that real I sometimes I do have to walk people through like, well, this is how early you have to get to the airport. Like really each travel day you're giving up a good portion of that day. So I think really having clients understand that, because sometimes what they say they want isn't what they actually want. And they don't realize, well, this means, you don't want to be on the ferry every day in Greece. They think it's very different than if anyone who's been on the ferry to Santorini knows what that's like. It is not a pleasurable experience. So I think just really that's where our job as the advisor is to help pace the trip, whether they do really want to relax or even if they do want to see it all, making sure it isn't exhausting if we are doing a fully packed itinerary.
Right. So I think Jessica, you touched earlier on the shoulder season. So are you seeing more luxury travelers opting for the less busy shoulder season?
Absolutely. I think oftentimes now, I mean, even the pricing is getting where the shoulder season is the same pricing as high season. Italy in September now is still very much high season or in May, so I think it's even being pushed out further and further. So I think I'm doing a lot of like April in Europe and October, November, early November, which wasn't as desirable, but now for less crowds and the better pricing, I see a lot of people being like, I'm okay with the weather if it's going to be a little more iffy, if it means there will be less crowds and much better pricing. So really it's all across the board, but it's been a big trend for me for sure.
Susie, I saw you agreeing with the shoulder season issue, yeah?
Yes, I definitely agree with Jessica. I'm seeing, more and more luxury travelers that are taking everything into consideration when they are booking their vacation. That includes not only weather, but it includes the crowds. It includes, how packed the places are. They're definitely opting in for more, off the shoulder season where it's, not the schools are in. They don't want to be in that summer hectic travel. They kind of want something that is a little bit more relaxed and, not so crowded.
Abby, are you seeing an expansion into that area as well?
Yeah, most certainly. The majority of our clients are have the flexibility to travel during the shoulder season, and that's my personal favorite time to travel as well. If we have clients that are really strict on, we have these dates to travel in. It's right in the middle of busy season. If they're school teachers or they don't want their kids to take time out of school, then we just make sure that we go a little bit above and beyond with, okay, you're going to have VIP airport meet and greets with private transfers, so you don't have to deal with the masses of everybody traveling during that time period. Or make sure they're staying at a property if it's a resort trip that has that's smaller, a little bit more boutique, so it's not as crowded or doesn't allow spring breakers, things like that make their trip still really nice and personalized, but not as hectic.
Right, put them in like a little bubble, sort of, so to
Yeah.
speak, in the hectic time. So, so right after the pandemic, during the so-called revenge travel era, clients were willing to pay anything to get out. But now that things are kind of normalized, or actually back to normal, are you starting to see consumers step away from the outrageous, price tags and just thinking, I need a little bit more value for my money? Jessica, what would you say to that?
People have wishful thinking, hoping that it's going to be less expensive, but I think the reality is that the prices are kind of remaining steady, or at least what I'm seeing most of the time. It's not decreasing from the, $3,000 a night Amalfi Coast hotels or whatever it is. It's still at that level. So I'm not sure if it will be, remaining that. So I hope it doesn't continue to go up at this point, but I think that's a big discussion with clients that I'm having earlier on, and with more transparency about pricing at the beginning, because it's really important that we're all on the same page. And people are hoping like, oh, I'd love to do this for $1,000 a person a night, but I think it's really important that we are aligning what expectations and reality is, with our clients, from an earlier point to, try to avoid any disappointments or
Yeah.
us not meeting their expectations.
Susie, are you finding clients asking for maybe more bang for their buck now that things are so expensive?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think right after the pandemic, weirdly enough, we had the best 2 years. It was really busy and people were booking, I think being cooped up for 2, 3 years and saving money. They had all the means to spend on their travel. But since 2023 and this year, I am seeing a lot of people, kind of want a better deal. Asking about prices, not booking, high room categories, just saying, you know what, I'm okay with like a garden view. When I get there, maybe I can see if I can upgrade there. They are cutting back a little bit on the what they're spending on for sure on travel.
Abby, what are your thoughts on the matter?
I'm about 50-50. Our clients are about half and half on that. I think that the pandemic really helped to educate clients on spending more on the experience than a specific product, maybe. For example, they want to make sure if they're sailing, they want more days in port and fewer days at sea. You know, we have clients, a great example that they always sail on a larger cruise line, ocean cruise line. And I said, you know, I think you guys would really enjoy a smaller ship experience where you're able to do a little bit more and pour, everything's included. And they ended up booking 2 back-to-back sailings, and they absolutely loved it. And they're like, this is fantastic. We'll definitely do this again. Whereas the other experience would have been oriented a little, and they're a retired couple. So the other experience would have been better for families who didn't really want to do as much imports and more on the ship. So they got to see the difference, and they said they found a lot of value in the smaller ship, more inclusive sailing options. So I think that the pandemic helped in allowing travelers to see the differences and experiences and hone in a little bit better on the product or the vendors that we work with too, and showcasing that.
Got it. So the next question was about if you were seeing hotel rates and other services within the hospitality space stabilizing, and do you think that will continue into 2025? So I think Jessica, you touched a little bit on the pricing issue, but I see everybody kind of going, you know, how do you see the pricing? I think for going into next year.
Are you talking to Jessica or
Go
just
ahead, no,
anyone?
go ahead, Susie.
Okay, I honestly, I mean, I don't see it go down. We're hoping that things are going to go down, but things are, going up, and surprisingly enough, I mean, people are paying it. And so I think that a lot of these suppliers, a lot of these hotels are like, I mean, if people paid it a year ago, 2 years ago, they'll pay it now. And I think that that's what is a big driving factor. And unfortunately, I even did a request for Cancun in May just yesterday, and a hotel that I is usually on a more medium budget range, not too luxury, is now double the price for May pricing this year for May of next year. So definitely seeing that the prices are going up, and the hotels are they're not willing to bring things down because for them, they've seen people pay it, so they know that there will be someone that will pay that price and come stay at their property.
Yeah, I see you nodding and agreeing, Abby. Yeah.
Oh,
Same
most
thing.
certainly. Yeah, I don't think that I see the prices going down too much. If they were going to do anything differently, I would anticipate, you know, their pricing will stay the same, but they'll maybe have a few more inclusions or amenities in destination for the client.
Yeah, Jessica, that was that kind of like adding value to the prices, even though the prices are gonna stay high, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's where shifting to either a cruise or maybe a small escorted tour, like a talc tour, could be a way for people if the budget just isn't working out for that private, fully curated itinerary. Like a river cruise can be a great like bang for your buck. Or again, talc or something like that I've used as a strategy to shift gears if we have to, if budget really is playing into as a big issue, but they still really want to go to this specific destination or whatever. So
Mhm.
that's been something I've used as a strategy.
Okay, great. So let's go into social media. So what role does social media play in shaping luxury travelers' preferences and decisions? Abby, do you have some thoughts on that?
I think that social media is a great resource for travelers, because it gives them kind of that baseline of information to decide a destination where they even want to start going, before they come to see us. Or they might show us pictures on, you know, their Pinterest board. Hey, I really like the look of this resort. And sometimes it's AI, so you have to be careful. Otherwise, you can say, okay, and that helps me to better understand what experience you're looking for, and you can build upon that, and also have open, honest communication with saying that doesn't exist. We have to start somewhere else. But I think that for in regards to marketing, bringing in clients, social media is great as well. It helps to build your brand, and even if you're not posting 5 times a day, even a few times a week, just to stay up to date, the clients will see that and say, okay, they're an active agency, because you have a lot of agencies that had been in business for 20 years. They might have a social media page, but they've closed their doors. They might have one at-home agent and they haven't posted in 5 years or 2 years, whatever it is. So you have to still stay relevant on social media to some extent.
Yeah.
We've seen good benefit from that.
Big nods from you, Susie.
Yeah, I agree. I agree across the board. We're spending so much money on social media. The days of TV advertising and radio and magazines are done. Everyone is on social media now. Everyone is trying to have that FOMO, they see a picture, they want to go to that destination. 80% of my clients that call me say, I saw this picture on Instagram and I want to go there. And
Yeah.
to what Abby said, it's like, it's AI. You don't know where it is, it might not even be real, but you're just trying to figure out, what they're
Like
talking
Google
about.
image
So
search to see if you can find
exactly,
it.
exactly. So definitely I see Instagram and Facebook, social media across the board playing a big role.
Same with you, Jessica, right? Yeah.
Yes, I mean, you have
Nodding.
to have an account. I think like having some social media presence to give your business some credibility, and sharing when you're personally traveling or your team's traveling. I think that that's super important, and it makes your current clients feel super connected to you and your business. So I am not great at social media, so I'm not the best person to answer this question, but I do think it's super important. Although I am not investing as much time into it as I need to. I guess I need to check out Susie's account.
I'll
So
send it
Jessica,
to you later.
Thanks,
yeah.
Susie.
Yeah,
I do
Abby,
want
you
to
wanted
add,
to add
if I
something?
can, we do social media, but I think another in regards to driving business to the agencies is direct mail. We've had a lot of success with direct mail. The luxury market, I think a large target audience still appreciates paper and old school mail, whether that be a postcard or an invitation to an event that you're hosting, or a handwritten note. Hey, I appreciate your business. I look forward to our partnership. Something like that. It works like a charm every time, and it helps establish the relationship with your clients.
Well, I have to agree with that. Being a print magazine, I have to
Yeah.
say that we are, we do have a loyal follower with our print edition. People like anymore to be holding something in their hand and looking at
Yes.
pictures. So I do agree with that, the mailing part of it. Um, so what are some of the biggest challenges luxury travel advisors face when dealing with high-end clientele? Jessica, you want to jump on that one?
Oh gosh, I think challenges are, again, so many things are outside of our control in the world of travel, and high-end luxury clients who demand are willing to pay for like what they consider perfection, or like,
Mhm.
having things go as seamlessly as possible. There are many parts that are outside of our control, and the best way to mitigate that risk and help with that, to me, is making sure I have the best partners on the ground anywhere we're going. So like a huge part of what I do is about having wonderful partners around the globe that make sure that the logistics and things are as seamless as possible. So I think that that's one of the biggest challenges, is finding the right partners everywhere, and then, having the trust in them that they're going to handle things on the ground. Like, for example, I just had a client who had a visa issue on election night, and had to drop everything and help. We had our air team, my Australia team on the phone, and we got everything taken care of in 2 hours, booked the flight the next day. Everything went super well considering the circumstance. And, those challenges arise, of course, for us. It's the travel business, but, again, having those partnerships, I think, help a lot.
Susie, what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced as a luxury travel advisor with your high-end clientele?
I think everything Jessica said, and I want to add more the demand. Having that the luxury clientele can get a little demanding because they want everything to be, perfect. And sometimes, like Jessica said, when travel, nothing is always going to go smooth, and sometimes there are hiccups along the way. So I think that the challenge for me has been just like the demand of the luxury traveler, like their expectations of like how things are going to go.
Abby, do you find that to be true?
Oh, completely. And I would like to add too is when you're in that initial conversation with a client and they call you, I identifying that they are a luxury traveler, because you will have a slew of issues in the planning process if you have, taken someone on as a client and then realize you're not a luxury traveler, you're not going to appreciate these certain details of, an
Interesting.
itinerary. And I think you might be better suited for another advisor and you can refer them somewhere else. But you have to be able to ask questions. In my mind, I'll have certain red flags. If I'm talking to a client, I'm like, okay, they've hit about 3 red flags. I don't think I'm going to be able to help them the way that they're wanting. And then by the end of the conversation, you can say, hey, you know what? I hear what you're asking for. I'm going to refer you to so-and-so to be able to help you beyond this. But identifying that, having that good, qualifying conversation in the beginning is going to help you a lot moving forward. And then I think once you have that luxury traveler and can identify, yep, I think it's going to be a great partnership. The only issues from there are, I think, making sure you can exceed their expectations and meet their demands for what they're looking for in the experience.
All excellent points. And I think we talked a little bit about this. Jessica, how do you manage unexpected disruptions like the flight cancellations, like all that for your luxury clients?
Think having an on the ground team is so critical. I don't do like FITs in the true sense where I'm booking each individual component anymore, just because of, so when something happens in Australia, I'm asleep, for example. So I think having an on the ground team that I know and trust and have worked with for years is so crucial for my experience. And so I know there's parts of that, like for me, I don't break down pricing to my clients. Everything is like a package price for the trip. And if you're someone who wants it all broken down, you're not the right client for me, because that's the way I work with many of my partners, don't break down pricing. So I just have that rule. So, I think it's just learning from experience, those sorts of things. And then when problems arise, you don't feel alone as the travel advisor. You're the only one handling it. You have a local team or a support system beyond you to help with the problem. So I think that's been really important.
Abby, I see you agreeing with Jessica's assessment of that.
Yes, having the right partnerships is key to managing any issues that might arise during travel or even after travel too. And I'll give a personal example. We had travelers that came to us, first time travel agency users, and they already had a tour booked, but they wanted a pre-tour tour, like a private driver and to go around. It was in Ireland, one of my favorite destinations. And so we got something reserved, all taken care of with the vendor. And I get an email from the clients. The driver did not show up. There was no communication from the vendor. It went terribly awry, but by the end of it, we got the vendor to go in half and half on some gift cards that we listened in the initial conversation, their favorite restaurants in town. We got them set up with really nice private reservations at 2 restaurants, and now they're repeat clients and working with us again because of how the ordeal was taken care of. But you have to be very, very careful with who you work with, that
Yeah.
they are able to work with you and work with your clients and put them first.
Susie, how do you handle emergencies when they inevitably pop up because they do?
They do, absolutely. I think staying calm for sure, because that's what your clients want from you. And when you panic, they panic, and it's not good. But definitely communication, being very transparent with them. I don't ever overpromise something that I know that I can't do 100%, especially when I'm not there and I'm not doing it physically. I'm not in destination. I can't make it happen for them. If I'm from here, I say I'll do everything I can. I can't guarantee everything, but I am communicating with them, making sure that they have, the step by step of like what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, what the next step is, what the airline is telling me. Let's say if there's like a cancellation for the flight, and they need to be reprotected on another flight. I'm not making the decisions for them. I'm calling them and saying, this is what I can do for you. Do you want this flight as an alternative? You know, so I'm always making sure that they are taken care of. And like I said, I'm not panicking. I'm making sure that I'm with them until they get on their flight and leave.
So onto something a little more positive than emergencies. What strategies do you use to differentiate your services in this highly competitive industry? And I'll go to Jessica first on this one.
So I think it's all about like really remembering that it's about people creating wonderful memories and having amazing travel experiences and getting excited and like being with your clients as they're, planning. And for me, a lot of it is like in growing your business and is creating stories that people are telling their friends and referring you. I think of the book, if anyone's read Unreasonable Hospitality, it's been a big book by the guy who did 11 Madison, the big 3 Michelin star restaurant in New York. And it's all about like making normal transactions into wonderful experiences. And so I think any chance we have to surprise and delight, to create any sort of story from their travel experience that they're going to go to their friends and be like, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what Jessica and her team did, or, Susie or Abby and her team did. I think those are ways to really differentiate yourself so that people are talking about you and how you were able to make their travel amazing.
Susie, what would you add to that? How do you differentiate your services in this competitive market?
I agree with Jessica. I mean, we all bring our own different, unique ways of, taking care of our clients. And I think that for me, it's more my experience. And it is more of, listening to what it is that they're looking for instead of just inserting, like, oh, this is what what I feel that you're going to want to do. I want to really understand what my clients want, and I want to understand their needs before I am recommending something. And also, having a fast response. I think that's what's so different. I get a lot of calls in my agency that say, "Oh, I called another agency a week ago and they haven't gotten back to me." And I think for me, that's so crazy because, time is money, and if you're not getting back to people, they're moving on. And so I think for me, one of the major things that I make sure that I let all my staff know and that I'm very, good with is within 24 hours, I'm responding to your requests and making sure that you're taken care of.
Abby, how do you work to separate yourself, your services from everybody else?
Yeah, I think that showing that our agency is different is by prioritizing and letting your clients know that they're different and their experiences are not going to be cookie cutter. Everyone is going to be different. And like Jessica said earlier in the conversation, luxury to each traveler is different. Someone's luxury to one person, maybe one thing might be different to another. And following through on that and prioritizing the human connection in a world where it's very online and internet based, we have the opportunity to show them that human touch, that human connection in the planning experience and in the travel experience, which a lot of luxury travelers are looking for that as well.
Thank you. So one last question before we go into the Q&A, and I think this might answer some of those questions that we've been seeing popping up. And it's, what advice would you give to new to industry travel advisors looking to specialize in the luxury arena? So Jessica, you want to start with that one?
I would say really think and envision like who is the client you want and what is the destination or specialty you want to have, and really focusing in on that. And, if as you're thinking of new business, it can seem like you want to take on anything and everything that comes your way, but really trying to put your focus and energy on, marketing to the people you want to market to, and for the places you want to sell. Like I'm very passionate about Europe and I'm passionate about Africa and safaris. And so really just making sure that I'm emphasizing those places I want to sell and to the people I want to sell, like how I'm doing that. So I think really sticking true to what you want to do. And then I have a no jerks policy at my company. So if clients are, I've learned the hard way, if people are a jerk to you, disrespectful to you and your team, for me, you're out. So it's like I kind of have a zero tolerance for people treating us and all the hotels and suppliers and everyone else they interact with on disrespect under, you know, our name. So that's another thing I learned the hard way that I used to not do in my early years as a travel advisor, but now you know, we don't deal with that anymore.
Susie, any advice?
Yeah, definitely start somewhere. Don't shy away from it. And you know, take on any, especially when you're new and you want to build your clientele, take on any client that is you know, wanting to work with you, even if they're not the most luxury clientele, because most of my client, like luxury clientele, has been referred by some of the clients that are more on the budget you know, side travelers. So you never really know which kind of you know, connection you're going to have with the word of mouth and referrals from, you know, your budget you know, clients. So definitely start somewhere and build, but don't shy away from it because it's definitely worth it.
Abby,
Um,
any advice?
Yeah, it's advice that I got a few years back when I really wanted to specialize in the luxury travel market. And it's an exercise. So write down on a piece of paper who your ideal client is. Give them a name, give them an occupation, or maybe they're retired. What are they doing? What are their hobbies? Where are they eating? And that's going to help you find that traveler. And even in your own community, I would really recommend getting involved. Join a local Rotary Club, get involved with community events, volunteer. A lot of the luxury travelers are going to be doing those same things. And then education wise, I would say if you haven't done it already, I think the Travel Institute has a fantastic luxury specialist program that can help you familiarize yourself with vendors. If you're looking to start building those connections with vendors, that's a great way to start. It's a really great tool, and talk to other travel advisors if you have questions. Get to know them, ask them their experience, their pros and cons to being in the industry, who they have really good relationships with in regards to vendors. Go to events, go to travel events. They really help you build those relationships.
Thank you so much. So we are going to pop into the Q&A here. One of the questions that we have is, do you guys charge fees for your services? I see everybody nodding. Susie, do you also charge fees for your services? You do not. And
I'm You know, it's I don't know. This is something that I've struggled with for a very long time. I've always wanted to, and I felt like I have tested it out in the market to try and you know, charge a fee, but I've lost a lot of clients when I have. Where I am in Burbank, there's a lot of agencies, and in our community, nobody is charging. So people will call somebody else, and so for me, you know, I always think about, okay, the $250 retainer for building a package, you know, is going to, you know, not allow me to make, you know, $1,000, $2,000, you know, on the package. So I've kind of, you know, thought about it and I've tested it and it just doesn't work for where I am.
I see Jessica and Abby, you do charge fees though, both of you.
We
Okay.
certainly do charge fees, and they actually have gone up since COVID. And the way it was explained to us, we've always charged fees, but the way that it was explained to us when we kind of remodeled it a little bit was, especially around COVID, is you're protecting yourself. As we saw through COVID, the vendors can change what they're paying you, when they're paying you, recall commission.
Arbitrarily.
If you want to protect yourself and your agency from a business standpoint, I think it's really important to charge fees. And it also, to the client, shows your value as well. Now, we don't charge a fee before we do any work. We, you know, establish the relationship, and then we'll charge the fee at time of deposit. And that kind of, I think, helps the client to build that trust instead of just saying right off the bat, hey, before I even start working for you, I need to have, $250. I think in some cases that might work, and it might weed out people who aren't really serious and they're just fishing for information. But for the most part, our clients are very receptive to paying a fee, just like you'd pay your hairdresser or a real estate agent. I think that it's very well placed and tasteful.
It just
if you do it
kind
the
of
right way.
depends on the area, right? That
Yeah.
you're in. Yeah. So we're down to like 1 minute left. It's amazing how quickly time passed. I don't know that we have time for one more quick question, but it says, as a luxury vacation rental provider on Hawaii, what is the best way for us to attract business from travel advisors and their clients? Does anybody want to give a quick answer on that question? She's a luxury vacation rental provider in Hawaii. What's the best way to attract business from travel advisors and their clients?
I would say build relationships with a consortia, whether that be Virtuoso or Fluent Traveler, Travel Savers. I would try and contact someone from there that would be open to promoting your properties.
Well, thank you, Abby. And unfortunately, we don't have time for anything else. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank Abby, Jessica, and Susie for your time and your answers. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. And thank you to our partners, Explora, Journeys, Rental Escapes, and the St. Lucia Tourism Authority. Everybody will receive a link with the Luxury Travel Trends Report and a copy of the recording of the webinar as well. So if anybody has any additional questions, you can always reach me at lydia@worthit.com. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Lydia.